In an effort to boost US-India defense relations, US President Donald Trump has announced plans to sell the cutting-edge F-35 fighter jets to India. Trump has revealed that the United States would increase military sales to India by billions of dollars starting in 2025, including the sale of Lockheed Martin's F-35 stealth fighter jets. The F-35 jets are known to be the most lethal, survivable and connected fighter aircrafts in the world. Besides this, the fighter aircraft is also special for its processing power, open architecture, sophisticated sensors, information fusion and flexible communication links. Moreover, these jets can operate without detection at supersonic speeds. The aircraft comes in three variants: the F-35A for conventional takeoff and landing, primarily used by the US Air Force; the F-35B for short takeoff and vertical landing, operated by the US Marine Corps; and the F-35C, a carrier-based model built for the US Navy. Joining us live at this point is General Kapoor, former Chief of the Indian Army Staff. Welcome. Thank you very much for being with us, General Kapoor. What do you make of these talks that have transpired between Prime Minister Modi of India and President Trump of the United States, particularly the talks that focused on defense procurement?
The US is very keen that we buy a lot of defense equipment from them. It's a good idea, it's futuristic, but we also must remember that it's expensive equipment, and while we would be happy to buy futuristic equipment, we also need to cater for the kind of budget which is required to buy such equipment. Unfortunately, the amount of budget which is allocated for defense for the next financial year, I'm afraid that is not going to be able to meet a lot of the requirements, especially of the Air Force, where we have a major deficiency, and therefore there would be issues unless and until there is a rethink in allocating additional budget for procurement of such advanced aircraft like fifth generation fighter planes and other equipment.
Absolutely. If we talk now about the F-35 fighter jet in particular, sir, what is its speciality? How big a boost can it be for our force?
Look, we are still looking and still waiting for the fifth generation fighter aircraft to come in. And where you find our so-called adversaries are already thinking in terms of sixth and seventh generation. And even we hear that our Western neighbor is hoping to procure sixth generation fighter aircraft from China. Now, if that is the background, and with the current deficiency levels that we have, we definitely require some matching capability to be able to withstand any threats to our national security. From that perspective, I think the Air Chief has been quite vocal and right about the fact that our attempts to get to a fifth generator fighter, its production as part of Make in India or either acquisition from outside, all these attempts are taking a lot of time. And till that time, the vulnerability continues. In a scenario where you have two adversaries on both sides, I don't think it's a very happy situation from a national security point of view. Therefore, the faster it happens, and F-35 that you mentioned could be a good choice, but then we need to cater, plan, and ensure it comes in quick time frame to make up our deficiency so that it enables our Air Force to be able to resort and take on any challenge.
Yes. Also, now just speaking, General Kapoor, about the deals which hopefully will also be inked very, very shortly for the procurement which we've agreed to pursue of Javelin missiles and Striker vehicles. Now, what makes Javelin missiles and Striker vehicles unique? What makes them important, and how would they add to our military prowess as well?
Both Javelin missiles and Striker vehicles are advanced weapon systems. They can help in our armor and part of being our modernization plans, and they can definitely assist in fighting a better tactical and strategic battle. To that extent, they are both very useful, and they can be of big help in an adversarial situation. So acquiring them is again a good idea, but Make in India while this process has been on for last about 5 to 7 years. Unfortunately, it takes little longer than that. I wish we had started maybe 25 years earlier. Unfortunately, it takes little longer to introduce equipment, try it out in different terrains within the country, and thereafter start manufacturing. And therefore, all this process is something in the range of 20 to 25 years. So, while Make in India is an excellent suggestion and action plan, but it's going to take time. Until that happens, we have a situation where we may be vulnerable, especially with a two-front threat. So therefore, the need to acquire from outside, and both Striker and Javelin can be good acquisition, as would F-35 be should we go ahead with it. But again, like I said, the constraining factor may well be the budgetary considerations. So all these things will have to be kept in mind by the political leadership so that we are in a position to tackle the threats on both our fronts.
Okay. General Kapoor, also now, as far as, of course, this, procurement is concerned, we've said that it should happen with an Atmanirbhar focus. Does that mean that certain components for this will be manufactured by India? Is that also something that we are going to try and, pursue?
You see, every country which has done research and produced these weapon systems would be chary of passing on that technology without requisite amount of compensation, etc., and the requirement to whether their part of so-called political thinking allows them to transfer such technology. So, keeping that in mind, whatever we can do within the country and promote Make in India will be a good idea. But these technologies will not come very easily. And the other aspect, like I mentioned earlier, is that even once these technologies come, the time frame for their introduction, trial, starting, and therefore thereafter equipping the armed forces is a longish time frame. So, if that has to happen, our capability levels will therefore remain limited till that happens. So, to that extent, we need to at times go abroad and get some of these modern equipment,
Yes.
especially because in a lot of cases, our current equipment is reaching levels of
Yes.
obsolescence amounting to about 68%.
Yes, and that's something that we did in France as well. On the visit that just preceded the US one this week itself, we've obviously inked deals to further procure the further Rafales and Scorpion as well by the end of this year.
Yes, so it's across all three services, the Army, Navy, and the Air Force. Any modern equipment will definitely be welcome to enhance our capability to meet such threats. So, keeping that in mind, especially the Air Force has got a problem because the media reports tell me that we currently have something like 32 fighter squadrons against an authorization of 42.5 squadrons. So, to make up that large gap, we need to move in quickly to acquire and therefore ensure a degree of stability as far as national security is concerned.
All right, General Deepak Kapoor, appreciate you joining us on NewsX with your perspective on this big story. Former Chief of Indian Army Staff speaking with us there. Joining us now is Lieutenant General Raj Kadyan, former Deputy Chief of Indian Army Staff. Thank you for being with us as well, Lieutenant General Kadyan. Lieutenant General Kadyan, what is your perspective on how the US India bilateral has panned out with Donald Trump, particularly, of course, if we talk about defense ties and also defense procurements?
Yeah, a lot was riding on Modi's visit and meeting with President Trump. India continues to face a tense and at times volatile situation on its very long and rugged 15,000 kilometers of land borders. There is no likelihood of the situation normalizing with either of the two neighbors, despite the talks going on with China, etc. Air Force in today's environment is a very dominant arm. Air Force has been saying for a long time that instead of our 42 squadrons, we only have 31 today. Ultimately, Make in India is the ideal solution, and Modi made a very good start in 2014 when he came to power. Unfortunately, the reality is not keeping the progress in touch with the production capacity. Just 2 days ago, our air chief has had to publicly criticize one of the government agencies, DRDO, HAL, by saying that their production of Tejas aircraft is not meeting our requirement and the Air Force needs it urgently. Therefore, import of military equipment is inevitable. Now, the question is, Trump essentially is first a businessman, then a president of a country. He is a dealer. He is a real estate tycoon. He has said we will increase military exports to India by billions of dollars, culminating into providing the F-35 fighter aircraft. There is no time specification. One doesn't know how long it will take and how much we will have to import of the other equipment. But I think India is not in a position to dictate terms. Our requirement is urgent. We had acquired the Rafale, the French aircraft, for 59,000 crore, 36 of them. Cost-wise, F-35 is matching. But of course, F-35 is better stealth capability. It has better radars. It has better sensors. It can see engaged targets beyond visual range, whereas Rafale is a close quarter kind of a battle. Otherwise, both have similar capabilities. In fact, Rafale can carry more load, that is more missiles and weapon systems. So it has more pods, as they call it. But the import of the military equipment, the other tragedy about what is happening of late is that the technology is moving too fast. By the time we actually get the F-35, I don't know how long it will take if we decide to take that. The technology will bring up something else. Take drone, they're a recent innovation. Today they can shoot down, and they have been shooting down in Ukraine, aircraft as well as missiles. So how relevant and how current the F-35 will be when we actually acquire it, it is very difficult to foresee. But yes, in the immediate future, we need a air force that is deterrent enough for both our neighbors to engage into any hostile activity. So our import has to be there, but it also has to be balanced with other geopolitical situation. For example, Russia has been our major supplier of military equipment. Not only major supplier, they have been the most reliable. If you take the history of 65 and 71 wars, Russia has been the most reliable friend. So what impact our
Absolutely.
agreeing to import?
No, that's an important point that you made. Wing Commander Sudhakaran, former Indian Force officer, also joining us here. Wing Commander Sudhakaran, do you believe also that these were essential procurements, important procurements that have finally been inked? Do you see this as a boost, of course, for our Indian Air Force in particular, but also the Indian military? Also, do you believe that coupled together with the deals inked in France, these should provide the much needed boost to us?
See, I don't know really what to answer, because we are really caught in a between a devil and a deep sea kind of a situation. See, America cannot be trusted. It's okay, talking, being, in public sounding like an ally. You just heard about the US aid. While they were having their hands on our shoulders, they were funding thousands of crores, trying to do a regime change within India. What happened in Bangladesh was essentially targeted against India. So that's the nature of the US politics. You can't trust them. They may promise you, they may not deliver. But having said that, stepping aside from the political side, if I look at the technology side, I will still not trust them, because most of these F-35 kind of modern generation weapons are very, very intelligence embedded weapons. Now, intelligence embedded weapons are not like legacy weapons. You can't control them. You can't understand how they will behave. On the day, traditionally, the cyber systems used to do denial of service attacks. Now, to me, these weapon systems carry an intent vector along with them, which means it's just like putting a human being. So, just like you can't put a white man in your forces to fight for you or you don't trust them, similarly, the weapons which are embedded with intelligence technologies cannot be trusted on the day of warfare. They may go into the air, they may fight with significantly degraded capabilities, and you wouldn't even come to know about it. In a denial of service attack, you will be able to know that. Here, you will not be able to do that. So, it is a challenge. Second thing is integrating an American system which is NATO compliant into the Indian environment, into the IACCs or down below, is going to be very challenging because we've not done that before. If you're talking about the Su-57, that is well equipped to actually come in because we already have the Su-30s and it will just seamlessly dock into the system. Those are much cheaper, much reliable, less intelligence-enabled systems. The Russians believe in brute force coming from their engines, and that is how these flying platforms maneuver. So therefore, if you ask me, cost-wise, it's very, very expensive to deal with the Americans. You will not know whether, if they don't give you the blessings to fight a war, whether you will have the supply chain and the logistics in place or not. They may change their stance anytime. Tomorrow the Democrats may well come into the power, and then you will find Soros' son becoming another Soros, and then, clandestinely blackmailing you. So there are multiple possibilities that emerges. They are as quantum as they can get.
Yes.
You can only measure Americans when you
Okay, that's an important point, and I'd like to take that forward to Air Vice Marshal Surikant Shafikar as well, defense expert who's live with us. Air Vice Marshal, US President Donald Trump offering these F-35 stealth fighter jets to India during the Prime Minister's visit. Is this a good gesture? Is this an important move?
More than a gesture, I'll call it as a business. Trump is on America First, which is a vision which is known to all now. So he is cashing on to the visit of our Prime Minister and putting forward this offer, you can say, which is of F-35 fighters. And he must be well aware that in India presently, AVIA is going on at Bangalore, and Russians are also demonstrating their Su-57. I think talking of more of an offer, you can say he is looking at a business, and that is my point.
Yes, but Donald Trump has not provided a timeline. At the end of the day, obviously, sometimes these deals take years to work through. When do you see this could catalyze?
If you are speaking only about F-35, firstly we have to see what is the type of the aircraft, what is it meant for, and how much it is going to cost us. In a democratic country and with a large population like ours, there is always a question of butter or guns. Anytime defense budget has to be announced, or some additional funds are to be given, this question arises the first. So it is a balancing act for the government also. Never ever, if you see the defense budget, it is just around 1.9% of GDP as of now. Somewhere in 80s, 84, 85, I don't remember, around that time, it was 3.1 or 3.2, that was the maximum. Beyond that, it has never gone. So 1.9% of GDP, if we are going to spend, let me assure you that this F-35 is a very, very expensive aircraft. It's a fifth generation fighter, single engine fighter, but it costs almost $80 million, right? And that is, I'm talking about basic version. If you look at short takeoff and landing version, that costs around 115 million, and one in between, which is used for aircraft carriers, it will be around 110. So it's a quite an expensive deal. Let's understand this very clearly. And it doesn't stop at that. Further, if you talk about it, the operating cost is also pretty high. It is almost $3,600 per hour. $36,000 per hour is the operating cost.
Yeah.
Which as compared to other aircrafts is pretty high. Yes, definitely it's a good machine. There are a lot of advantage, but we have just done.
Okay. Now, over the last couple of years, Air Vice Marshal Shafikar, we've seen significant delays, though, as far as procurements from the US are concerned. 6 Apache helicopters still not delivered. The delivery of the GE engines for the Tejas LC has also been delayed. That's also something that doesn't make us very optimistic about the F-35 timeline.
Very, very valid point. You have hit the nail on the head. You know, doing business with Americans, this question always comes up because our experience has been that. You brought up the subject of Apache, then you brought up the subject of G engines for Tejas, and our experience has not been so good. Plus, we are not paying less, we are paying quite a lot. So, in this, what you foresee, not much is going to change. We know we bought C-17 and C-130 transport aircraft. That deal went through okay. Even the support system is pretty fine. However, the deals which you named definitely are troublesome for us. And if we get into, and presently what is required for India is, we require this 100 plus aircraft as soon as possible. So any delay is going to complicate the issue. That is why I think what you are saying, that how much optimistic one should be,
yes,
is a very, very big question.
Okay. Now, as Trump, of course, promises to increase military sales with India, is there a clear message that is being sent out then to our neighboring countries?
This subject of, producing aircraft within your country is not as simple as it looks, because for two, three reasons. Number one, in aviation field, if you have to go ahead, you have to think of exporting. And if we produce this Make in India thing and we want to make our fighters, then exporting them is going to be the only way out for a business also. Because where do you get so much money from? When you do research and develop an aircraft, a lot of money is pumped into it. So you have to recover that money. For that recovering of money, you have to have some business. So whenever fighter aircrafts are made in India, we will have to have good quality. Then we should have a good price, which will be definitely mandated within because Indian products are pretty cheap as compared to the world market. Number three will be the timelines. Now here comes the problem. Let's take the example of Tejas. Tejas is in news because some news is getting viral, which was leaked out, what our air chief said. He actually has just put across factual.
Yes. Now, Russia, sir, earlier had also offered its most, its Su-57, Su-57 stealth fighter jets. And of course, also now the F-35 fighter jet being offered by the US. Which do you believe suits us in terms of our strategic and operational needs better?
If you have to correctly answer for that, Su-57 doesn't fit that much in the strategic need of our country, the security needs, if compared with F-35. But everything doesn't depend only on the needs of a country or strategic needs of a country. Finally, the first point which I brought up to you, butter or guns, overrides almost all the factors when defense sector is thought of.
Absolutely.
So, if what we
Absolutely. In fact, also, my final question then to you, in terms of course, now the trade deficit, being the intention of Donald Trump is to reduce the trade deficit, but we obviously also want to continue to push our Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative. So how do we balance the two? How do we balance a defense partnership with the US while keeping India's self-reliance vision first?
Okay. It's a tricky path.
Yes.
To tread on, definitely. However, diplomacy has been the present government's, very, very topmost priority. So, while treading this path of balancing our exports and imports as far as defense sector is concerned, there will be, and there must be already a path laid down. Something must have been already channelized. To give you a little bit insight in this, we have already bought C-17 and C-130 aircraft, and there is a contractual obligation with US. Apaches, as you had mentioned, is already in the pipeline. It should be coming. So, as of now, the government may take a decision that what the trade we have done with US as of today is sufficient to let them understand and realize that yes, we are willing to trade with them, but with Atmanirbhar Bharat, like President Trump's America First, there will not be a clash of interest.
Yes.
Too much, but this.
Yes. Okay. Let's leave it at that. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. It's time for a short break.